So that brings me interestingly to Sudeep. Sudeep, who is a co-founder of Zeliot. I hope I am pronouncing the company's name correct.
Zeliot is right, yes.
Zeliot is the right name. Perfect, thanks. So, it's a challenging that at one end we have industry like aerospace, defense, healthcare, where, and also to some extent, automotive industry, where digital IoT and to some extent algorithms had been at the forefront. Of course, it is being done and was done using different technologies of those days, where things would be started with the mainframe and possibly, progressed how technology changed. And now, a news and company like yours, who started in 2018, 5 years on horizon, how do you see that challenges of platform coming in, where the volume of data are going to be like never before, the speed of the data is like going to be never before, and the algorithm, the demand and the use cases, number of use cases in one factory, it's no more going to be limited to the compliance part and the quality part, because these technologies have to solve the productivity problem, quality problem, energy problem, safety problem, compliance problem, everything. So what is happening that your platform is really can either become the bottleneck for the digital or detrimental, or it can be the true enabler. How are you prepared and how do you promise to the market, to the world, that how the news and company and platforms are coming to take care of such challenges?
Yeah, thanks Tarun for the question. First of all, great to be here because I think I'm one of the companies which is very young in this domain. We started in 2018 and good to hear from the experience that is out there on the panel. So I could add some context from the data platform side of it because that is what we predominantly do. And Tarun, as you rightly mentioned, just being into this for about 7 years now, we've really seen the transition of data happen. Right? Because when we started off with the platform, we were really dealing with the technology on the edge was on 2G. And the quantum of data as a technology that 2G can give you and the frequency at which it can give you was really low, right? So we could get in occasional pings from machines or vehicles, say at about a minute frequency or about, maximum at about a 30-second frequency or so on. Where while we sit here today, just 7 years into this, where 4G has come in, consumer has already moved on to 5G, but we are as an industry dealing with 4G. The most recent use case that we are working with currently today involves ingesting data onto the cloud at a 500 millisecond frequency from every asset that is connected. So why is it essential, first of all, to collect data at this frequency? Is because we are dealing with autonomous vehicles, we are dealing with different kinds of machinery within a facility which requires that kind of a constant monitoring. And the advantage that this brings to the table when you're really sampling the data at that higher frequency is it allows you to make very real-time decisions around safety, around productivity, and also drive how can you actually make the ROI better towards improving the quality of production. So when we look at the limitation or some of the challenges that we today foresee and overall as a data platform as a whole, I think we have to break down the problem into two halves, right? There is the cloud part of it and there is the edge part of it. What we've seen with our experience is more often than not, especially in India, since all of us are on the software side, the edge part is a little ignored, I would say, in terms of what are the innovations we could drive on the edge. But I think with edge technology massively improving, we have AI chips now that are getting more and more affordable on a daily basis. Instead of driving intelligence on the cloud, we really have to start looking at how can we drive intelligence on the edge. All right, and driving intelligence on the edge is a challenging process because the framework within which a certain machinery operates changes over a period of time. So the intelligence has to adapt to that change. Right? You want platforms to be able, where you're able to deploy newer intelligence over a period of time, where you're able to do continuous learning from the operation of the machine and so on. And doing this on the edge gives you a massive advantage, because on the cloud still you are getting data at a relatively lower frequency of 500 millisecond or 1 second, but on the edge you are able to sample this data at a 10 millisecond or a 50 millisecond frequency from these machines, right? So you can do a lot of real-time intelligence, real-time data decisions on the edge. So that is the real-time nature of it. And the second very interesting part of it, which kind of ties into the ROI, is actually the lesser data that you push onto the cloud and the lesser intelligence that you drive on the cloud, you could massively bring down cloud costs. Right, we've seen this happen with multiple organizations that we work with, where often the first line of thought is, why don't we push everything onto the cloud? We'll store it in a database. It sounds really easy. We could drive intelligence out of that data. But the moment you start scaling this setup, cloud cost becomes a massive deterrent, and cloud cost is a big part of the BOM when you deploy a solution like this, right? So. And that becomes a bottleneck in terms of scaling this, and people really start questioning the ROI, because when you have SMEs, smaller companies really trying to adopt this technology, the moment cloud cost goes really high, the kind of management questions the whole thing, right? Because you want this to be an enabler, you want this to be an enabler of productivity and efficiency, and here you have a lot of cloud cost that has been built up because the way the whole problem or the whole solution has been structured, rather. So it's really important to drive it on the edge. And even still, you can't avoid a few things on the cloud, because on the cloud, you're looking at ingesting data not just from your equipments, but from your ecosystem as a whole. So you could have data coming in from some of your suppliers based on when their shipment is going to arrive, or the quality of the shipment that is coming in, and so on. So you kind of need to ingest all of that still onto the cloud and try to make sense of that in real time. And this data goes up really high. So I think one strategy there that we've seen works really well is with cloud providers. Although it is good to do short POCs and so on, you need to take a long-term view on cloud, because you could literally sign up for RIs, which is reserved instances, long-term contracts with cloud providers, which literally we've seen the BOM go down by 50% in some cases when you do that. So taking a long-term view on cloud, on the platforms on the cloud, and really focusing on the edge is something that would be a long-term view and a long-term solution for this, is what we see.
Thanks, Sudeep. So, very interesting paradox which you have said, that consumer are on 5G while industry is still on 4G equivalent, or maybe sometimes 3G equivalent. Yeah. That's reality. Edge versus cloud paradox. I'm sure there are as many cloud supporters as there are, on-prem. Yeah. So that's a good paradox to know about, think about, and be aware about. And the data speed. As you spoke about that, the conventional automation and the historians of the world, which were that once in 30 seconds or maybe once in a minute. Now we are talking about, there are processes where you are doing millisecond. So, there are various industrial application or processes. For example, if I talk about the steel or the aluminum industry in the cold rolling mill, the speed of the line is so fast that you have no choice but scanning your coil or your billet or your slab in millisecond. Likewise, in certain critical chemical equipments where in millisecond the safety can get compromised. So the fast data is becoming the new, bringing the new paradox and challenges and opportunities as well.